A wife, Stephanie, trapped in an emotionally abusive marriage, quietly transforms from target to tactician. Her husband, Brandon, mocks her dependence and plans to humiliate her by serving divorce papers at Christmas. She prepares for months, notarizes a drunken prenup, documents his behavior, builds legal ground with her lawyer friend, Jenny, and waits. At Christmas dinner, Brandon presents the papers. She signs immediately and gifts him the reinforced agreement, plus a sonogram. Power flips. Afterward, she reclaims her home, peace, and motherhood, while Brandon faces legal and social fallout. 1 year later, she's healed, held by family, and free. The tray doesn't rattle because my hands don't. 4 tumblers. 2 with the good whiskey, 2 with mulled wine that smells like cloves and oranges, and a life I pretended to live. I'm halfway down the hallway when laughter spills from the living room like marbles rolling off a table. Do you think she'll cry when she reads them? Nate's voice loose, sloppy. He always runs a little smug, like he borrowed confidence at a pawn shop and never paid it back. She'll crumble, Brandon answers, the sound of him low and practiced. Women always do. I stop, and the house stops with me. The garland goes still. The furnace sighs and holds its breath. My pulse arrives late to its own body. The tray does not move. Neither do I. 5 days before Christmas. 5 days before a show. They do not know I am here. They do not know I have been here a long time, on the edges of jokes, at the seam of every room, the place where the rug is bunched because no one bothers to smooth what only I can feel. I back up, slow as a clock hand, and set the tray on the hallway table. 4 rings of light float in the glassware. I watch them steady. When I turn, the mirror on the wall returns a version of me I almost recognize, hair pulled back, shoulders down, the kind of face people call kind when they mean quiet. This did not start today. It started with a room of people laughing, and me learning to laugh along. I could leave you tomorrow, he'd say, knuckles warm on my shoulder. The room would glow. I would glow. Later, after the guests had gone and the dishwasher hummed, something inside me would pull tight, a stitch my body kept adding to without permission. He never shouted. He never had to. He salted sentences, set them on the table, and watched me eat them with a smile. Don't embarrass me. You're lucky I stayed. What would you do without me? A chorus that learned my bones. There are 3 kinds of silence in a house, the peaceful kind, the sleeping kind, and the kind that watches you from the ceiling fan at 2 a.m., counting every spin you owe it. We lived with the 3rd. The first time I chose a different kind, I was still pretending to be asleep. He staggered in, perfume that wasn't mine braided into his shirt. I counted the minutes until he began to snore. Then I got out of bed, found a plain spiral notebook, and wrote the date. In the morning he didn't notice I had a pen mark on my thumb. In the afternoon he laughed at a story I told badly on purpose. That night he drank and signed a napkin when I suggested we make the joke official. He thought it was brilliant, a party trick. He slept. I didn't. The next day the napkin breathed under glass at a notary's desk. My name steadied beside his. 5 days before Christmas, holding a tray, I hear my future rehearsed for an audience of 2. I have rehearsed longer. I pick up the glasses. I walk into the room smiling with my teeth. He looks up, surprised, then sure of himself. Babe, he says. I hand him his whiskey. I keep my voice sweet. Make it a good show, I say. People came for dessert. He laughs. He always does. I do too. The last time we'll laugh together for free. You cannot outrun a house, so you learn its tracks. The floorboard that complains under the window. The cabinet hinge that sighs when you open it past polite. The text tone that isn't mine. I become a cartographer of small sounds. I map them in the notebook that lives under my side of the mattress, spine softening with use. The entries are brief at first, date, time, the remark he tosses like rice. Then they lengthen. A receipt folded once, twice. Hotel, 2 glasses, strawberries. Valentine's Day he spent on a plane. Evidence has a temperature. I learned to hold it without burning. Jenny reads the napkin in her office the way a person reads the weather on a horizon. Her glasses catch the hum of a fluorescent light. Her thumb travels the lines like a seamstress testing a hem. Did he sign sober? She asks. Sober enough to laugh. She leans back. Then we stitch. Not to trap him, so your parachute opens. She drafts quietly. Clean clauses. No flourishes. The point of a blade is not its shine. We add an addendum, choice of jurisdiction, spousal protections, a log of voluntary consent, a paper trail that remembers even if he never will. I buy a small fireproof bag. I label a folder Receipts 2020, then slide the wrong decade over the right future. At home, I polish. Not floors, my performance. Brandon is better when he is applauded. So I clap. I pour his favorite wine and ask about work while his thumbs flip through strangers. When he says my hobby is spending, I laugh before anyone else can. He relaxes at ease like a cat in a sun patch. It is easier to steal a key from a sleeping hand. I sync his phone to the shared laptop one afternoon while sauce simmers. It's not complicated. He believes I can't fix a router. It helps that he is almost right until I am not. A thread labeled M blooms open. She doesn't suspect. He sends a crying laughing face and a promise. Christmas. I take a screenshot. Then another of my own face, reflected faintly in the black border of the screen, calm as a pond that knows its depth. Nate corners him at a barbecue with a paper plate and a smirk. She'll fall apart, he says. You've got it made. I arrange strawberries into a perfect spiral and learn how to breathe with a loaded heart. When Brandon's arm lands casual on my waist, my body does not flinch. It files. There are moments I could choose spectacle. Hurl a glass. Spill the story on linoleum. But I am building a quiet thing. Quiet things require time and clean edges. When I cannot sleep, I sit in the dark and teach myself to inhale for 4, hold for 4, out for 6, until my ribs remember who they belong to. On the calendar I use for groceries and appointments, I add a second language. A dot means lie. A star means proof. An X marks absence without weather. If anyone asked, I could tell them it stood for meal plans. If anyone looked close, they would see a constellation. 5 days become 4. I buy candles that smell like cinnamon and something I decide to call home. I iron a tablecloth I hate. I press a sweater he loves because costumes are honest about being costumes. My sister texts a photo of her spiced wine, laughing about too much orange peel. I reply with a heart. The kind of heart that means yes, not the kind that means help. The day before Christmas, a storm threatens but does not arrive. The sky stays undecided, the way a liar looks when he's almost bored with his own story. Brandon comes home early with a box from a jeweler he will not open in front of me. He leaves it on the counter. For Mom, he says, too fast. The box is empty when I check. A decoy is useful. It tells you the real thing exists. Tomorrow, he says over pasta, let's keep it classy. He taps his fork against his water glass to show me how he plans to begin. He needs practice. I nod as if I'm taking notes. He mistakes compliance for comprehension, as always. That night, he falls asleep on the couch with sports murmuring softly about men who run and catch and are praised for it. His phone lights and quiets, lights and quiets. The names are letters, the letters are jokes. I don't open anything. I learned, somewhere between fear and fury, that knowing is not the same as touching. The screenshots already live where they need to. I wash the last glass and place it upside down on a towel. Water beads cling to its rim, small planets refusing gravity. When I was younger, I believed that love was the art of bending without breaking. Later I learned that bending becomes a shape you forget how to leave. Tonight, I learn a third thing. Sometimes you set the glass down and let it dry. The shape returns on its own. In the mirror, I practice one face pleasant, unremarkable, the expression he performs kindness against. Beneath it, a second face settles in, the one Jenny saw when she said, he gave you the knife. You're just deciding when to use it. I don't want the knife. I want a door. Sometimes a knife cuts one. A notification pings from the laptop in the kitchen. An email lands from Jenny, filed. Timestamp attached. Confirmation below. There is nothing dramatic about it. No drum. The document is a kind of weather, pressure changes, and a front moves through a life until it is different air. I go upstairs and sit on the edge of the bed that still holds the outline of us. The outline has stopped being a map. It's residue. I place my palm on my belly and wait. A flutter answers, barely there, a fish turning in a dark pond. We are almost done, I tell the quiet. In the guest room, I unfold linens for Beth. I tuck one corner, then the next. The corners look like sails. I try to remember the last time I left a room without taking inventory of myself. Years, maybe. Tomorrow, I will count forks and faces and slices of pie and remember none of it except the precise way a man discovers he is ordinary. Before sleep, I text Jenny a single word, ready. She replies, breathe. I do. The night doesn't change. The house doesn't creak any different. But somewhere between one breath and the next, a door I cannot see swings on a hinge and stays open. The table is dressed like a guest who wants to be liked. Candles. Pine. A runner that hides old scratches. Brandon carves the turkey the way he closes a deal, shoulders squared, smile purchased. He's wearing the maroon sweater I pretended not to shrink in the wash. Around us, the chatter braids into something warm. Beth's laugh. His mother's pearls tapping lightly when she reaches for bread. Nate, already glossy, whispering to Brandon with his hand cupped like gossip needs shelter. I move through the room with a plate in my hands and 1,000 small decisions in my feet. Refill. Wipe. Nod. Smile. I smell cinnamon and citrus and the last hour of a life. Brandon taps his glass with a butter knife. The room hushes reflexively. He likes that. He straightens, looks at me as if the camera found us, and says, before dessert, he glances at Nate, who grins back, owner of a secret that isn't worth the price. A little something for my beautiful wife. He reaches into his blazer. An envelope appears, plain white, ordinary as a bill you refuse to open. He walks it to me with the confidence of a man whose script has only one ending. My fingers rest on the paper. I do not have to act surprise. I have always been good at quiet. I open it. The words are familiar the way a bruise is. Petition for dissolution. Signed. Filed. He has highlighted a line like a student proud of guessing the right answer. I read it the way you read a street sign you have already passed. Thank you, I say, as if he has handed me the salt. He blinks. The forks around us pause midair. I retrieve a pen from my clutch, click it. The sound is very small and very loud. I sign. The ink dries without ceremony. I date it. I place the papers back in the envelope, then set the envelope on his plate where the turkey will go if he keeps it. That it? He asks, too breezy. That's it, I echo. Almost. I bring up a gold-wrapped box from under the table. A ribbon looped the way Beth taught me as kids. He takes it because he knows how to accept gifts publicly. Paper tears. A leather folder sits in his hands, heavier than it looks. He opens it. His breath leaves like a draft through a door you didn't mean to open. He reads. He reads again. His thumb finds his own signature as if touching it could unlatch the latch. Nate leans in. What is it? He says, pretending curiosity instead of fear. The agreement Brandon signed, I say, pleasantly. Last year. Clarified. Filed. I offer nothing extra. The truth doesn't need garnish. I filed first, he says to the paper, to the room, to anyone who will sell him a return policy on the moment. Which is why it's binding, I answer, the way you explain a recipe to someone who cannot taste. He looks at me then, really looks. For a half second, his face softens into almost human. The half second passes. I place a small square envelope beside his water glass, the kind that holds a note. He opens it like a person afraid of snakes. A sonogram stares up, star-salted black and white. His mouth remembers how to smile before his mind confiscates the expression. 8 weeks, I say. We're keeping time differently, you and I. His mother inhales and forgets to exhale. Beth's hand finds my knee under the table, a pressure that says I'm here, I'm here, I'm here. Nate's smirk slips, a plate unpolished with sliding toward an edge. The room learns a new silence. Not the kind that watched me. The kind that watches him. He grips the folder like it might sprout teeth. The fire snaps once behind him, a punctuation mark. On the table, my pen waits beside dessert forks. You planned this, he says, volume low, as if the quiet will keep the words from being real. I prepared, I answer. Preparation is a kind of love, I think. Sometimes you aim it at yourself. His phone buzzes. He startles, then unlocks it with a hand that remembers how to be steady. The email subject line in bold, confirmation, prenuptial addendum filed. Another, timestamp and metadata attached. Another, forwarded from his father, who has never liked my cooking but knows a clean signature when he sees one. He scrolls and the color drains slowly, like a photograph left in a window too long. Around us, chairs remember their legs. His mother dabs the corner of her eye with a napkin and blames the candle smoke. Beth's husband studies the table runner pattern like it might tell him where to place his hands. Someone laughs softly, one of those nervous, runaway sounds that apologizes as it leaves the mouth. Steph, Brandon says, searching for a version of my name that fits. You don't have to, I'm not doing anything, I say. You already did. He sets the phone down like it's hot. He reaches for the envelope with the divorce papers, then for the folder, then for the sonogram. His hands land nowhere. There is a moment in every performance when the actor realizes the audience has stopped believing. You can hear it if you know what air sounds like when it changes sides. I stand because I want pie. That's all. Apple or pecan? I ask the room. It's almost funny how long it takes anyone to remember language. Apple, Beth says, recovering first because sisters are always first to drag sense back into a burning room. I slice. The crust holds, then gives. I plate one for myself, one for her, one for his mother because her hands are shaking. I set a fork by his father without looking at him and do not wait for thanks. Locks change tomorrow, I say, not to threaten, just logistics. We'll coordinate through council. The words taste like nothing. I love that about them. Brandon pushes back his chair. The scrape is more dramatic than he is. You think you've won, he says. He wants a fight. He wants a scene he can quote later, a woman to point at when he tells the story of how women are. I take a bite of pie. Cinnamon, butter, sugar. The holy trinity of things that don't lie. Good night, Brandon, I say, and mean it. He stares at me like a person who hears a door lock from the other side and realizes he is in the hallway. He leaves. The front door opens. Cold arrives dutifully and then is kept out. For a few seconds, nobody speaks. Then Beth says, too loud and perfectly wrong, I always hated that sweater. Laughter trembles through the room, a fawn standing on new legs. His mother lets out a sound that isn't a sob. His father clears his throat like a gavel hitting felt. I collect plates that are still full. I rinse them under warm water until the grease forgets what it was attached to. When I come back, the sonogram still sits by his empty chair. I pick it up, glance at the shape that is not yet a shape, the light that looks like a secret the universe decided to tell me anyway. Dessert? I ask. This time the room answers. This time, when I sit, the chair holds me like it was built with my weight in mind. Morning arrives without permission or apology. The coffee is mine in the way the first breath after a long swim belongs to the lungs. The door is locked from the inside. His keys are gone from their hook. I make eggs and forget to brace for commentary. By noon, a locksmith with soft eyes changes the house's memory. Metal tongues learn new names. He hands me a key that is smaller than it feels. I close my fingers around it and stand very still, like a person listening for thunder that isn't coming. I wash sheets. Open windows. Let winter write its cold signature on the walls. Somewhere between the second load and the third, the scent of his cologne gives up. I light sandalwood candles I stopped buying because he said they gave him headaches. The flame makes tiny sounds like someone pronouncing my name correctly. Jenny calls. His lawyer's voice went 2 octaves higher, she says, delighted. 70%, give or take, and payment plans. I don't care about the math the way he cared about the scoreboard. I care that the living room holds only furniture and not weather. I'm proud of you, she adds, which is what finally puts water in my eyes. Strength is louder when someone else names it. There is no avalanche. The fallout is quiet as snowmelt. Some friends perform neutrality in texts that apologize for existing. Some women I thought were gone reappear like postcards from a town I'd loved and left. A bouquet arrives with a note. About time. See. I place it on the mantel and let the house look at itself dressed. Time does the thing it does when you stop asking it to hurry. I hum while folding laundry, an instinct that returns the way birds do in spring. Elena moves into the guest room for a while and pretends it's to prevent me from tragic snacking. We assemble a rocking chair poorly, then correctly. We paint the nursery soft sage because I like how morning sits in it. One afternoon, barefoot in the kitchen, slicing peaches for a pie, I feel her kick. A brush from the inside, a hello in Morse code. I drop the knife and laugh, hands on my belly like a person holding a globe, surprised it's warm. That night, I start a new journal with paper that invites ink. First page, plans that are only mine. I drive past him once. He's exiting a bank, phone pinned to his ear by his shoulder, eyes irritated like he's allergic to consequence. He doesn't see me. Or he does and cannot decide what to do with the knowledge. Either way, I keep going. The next Christmas, the table is smaller. The candles don't try as hard. Laughter lives here without checking in. Beth's toddler drops potatoes and declares "Tada," as if gravity is his best trick. Jenny brings a date with kind hands and a laugh that fills the corners. There's a new chair at the table, white with yellow stars, and it holds a person I would rebuild a universe for. After dinner, when the house exhale reaches its softest, my daughter sleeps on my chest. Her breath warms my sweater in a rhythm I recognize as the opposite of fear. The fire throws light that doesn't ask anything of me. Outside, Snow practices being snow on the railing. He once said I'd be nothing without him. The line rises, a ghost that doesn't know it's finished. I kiss her forehead, feel her tiny fingers curl, and speak low so I don't wake anybody. Turns out, I tell the quiet, I am everything without you. The room does not applaud. It doesn't need to. It holds. It holds. It holds.